You're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of ABK Media Group, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County every day at 9 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, here in the beautiful Gwinnett County. Going to have a great day today. The weather is supposed to be 70 degrees. I am excited about that because I like winter, but I like spring better, so I'm looking forward to spring. I talked to my brother yesterday who's in New Jersey. He said to me, what's the temperature? I said, it's about 65. He's like, 65? It's like 40 degrees up here. It's Jersey. What you expect? It's Jersey. They had one good day, I think he said it was last Saturday, which is 75. That's big for Jersey. Like 75 in March, that's huge because it might be snowing in March in Jersey. You never know. But listen, thank you for joining us today. I got a great show lined up for you today. My financial advisor and co-host on Wednesday, Mr. Cooke, is back. He's going to be talking to us today about why you should create another stream of income so you can move your investments forward. And we're going to get to him. But before we do that, we're going to do the daily horoscopes because, I like doing the horoscopes. And then we're going to do our shout-out for our nonprofit. And then we're going to come back to Chris, and we're going to let him talk to us about why creating another stream of income is important, especially if you're on a very, very tight budget with your job. So before we do that, let me just jump on over to the horoscope for today. Today's horoscope is by astrologer Michael Parsons, and this horoscope for April the 3rd, 2019. We're going to kick off with Aries. It's time to reevaluate your motives. Romance will develop through work-related activities. You won't be well received by superiors or by your spouse. Ooh, that's my husband. And he's going to have a romance at work? Okay, yeah, that's not going to be well received. Okay, all right now. Watch out now. Taurus, you may not be able to help. Lord, poor Taurus, I feel bad for you. Nah, don't donate more than you can afford in order to impress others. You can mesmerize anyone you meet with your cultured attitude and outlook. Don't let your partner get away with spending too much of your money. Ooh, all right now. Cancer, focus on your domestic scene. Get together with friends and relatives. Your loved ones could set you off. You need a change of pace. Oh, Lord. Cancer, don't let anybody set you off today. Make it a great day no matter what. Leo, take precautions while traveling. You don't have to get anywhere that fast. Unexpected visitors are likely. Be prepared to do your chores early. Make sure that you have all the pertinent information before any reprisals or making any moves. Virgo, your persuasive nature will win the heart of someone you had your eye on. Virgo, to get that person. Social events held in your home will be successful and entertaining for those who attend. You should be putting in some overtime. Okay, Virgo, put in a little bit of overtime so you can get what you need to get. We're going to go to a song, and I'll be right back to finish up the horoscopes, and then we're going to come back with Chris, and he's going to talk to us about what you need to do and why you create another stream of income. But stay tuned.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lies
me. Welcome back to Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. Excuse me. Bringing you the daily horoscope for today, April 3rd, 2018. We're going to pick up at Libra. Libra, organize all responsibilities that have to be attended to and make sure everyone knows what to do. You can embrace your cash flow if you pick up an additional skill. Problems with relatives and friends could suffice. All right. Scorpio, take some time to do some writing, whether it's correspondence, poetry, or keeping a journal. Travel should be on your mind. Avoid joint ventures and steer clear of groups that you want to contribute to financially. Sagittarius, you can make the most headway if you put in some overtime. You may find that children are not as accepting as you have been. Listen, our children are as accepting as we are? No, they're not. That's just they're not. Looking to career choices and courses being offered. Capricorn, overstatement will be your downfall. Don't overstate it, Capricorn. You'll be inclined to make unwise investment choices. Chris, somebody's in Capricorn need to hear this morning, Chris. You'll be inclined to make unwise investment choices. False information is likely if you listen to idle chatter or gossip. Don't listen to gossip today, Capricorn, and don't make bad investment choices. Aquarius, don't spend too much on products that promise amazing cosmetic results. You should get into some of those creative hobbies that you always said you wanted to do. Be tactful if you see flaws in someone else's work. Don't criticize too harshly today, Aquarius. And my fellow fish, Pisces, your leadership qualities will come in handy. You can solidify your relationship if you plan a special evening with your mate. Relatives will want to get together. All right, there we have it. That's our horoscope for today, April 3rd, 2019. And we're going to go on over here and give a shout-out to our People Helping People segment of the day, which is our nonprofit. We'd like to give a shout-out to those who are doing great things in our community to help build up the community and help families and children around the community. So this shout-out goes out to the Georgia Home Education Association. And this organization is a statewide organization, and it's a 501c3. And what it does is it supports parents who want to homeschool their children. Not everybody wants to put their children in public schools, and so there needs to be someone advocating for the parents who want to homeschool. Now, my daughter has talked about homeschooling before, and so it's something that she's considering because she has a new baby and she still has some time, but it's good to know that there's an organization out there that is willing to make sure that parents who homeschool in private schools know what's going on, know the laws, know the rules and regulations about being a homeschooler. That's really important, and they have a lot of things that they do. So some of the things that they do, they inform homeschooling families about legislation and policies that are affecting families in home education. They advocate on behalf of Georgia homeschool community. They offer individualized counseling. They aid in the creation and growth of homeschool education support groups. So if you need a support group, if you homeschool, you need a support group, you can go over there and talk to them. They maintain relevant resources on their website. They have a really nice website with a lot of information there. And they provide speakers to groups and events to get for those who are interested in home education. So if you are homeschooling or thinking about homeschooling, you have some questions or concerns, the Georgia Home Education Association is a great place to start because they have a ton of information there. They have a lot of support services there for homeschoolers and those who are looking to homeschool. For more information about Georgia Home Education Association, go to ghea.org. That's G as in George, H as in Henry, E as in Edward, A as in Apple.org, ghea.org. And check out the website. Also, it's a nonprofit, so if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, they're always looking for donations. These nonprofits are run by your support. So if you want to donate or volunteer, they need your help as well. You can be a support to them. Again, that's ghea.org. Okay, so I'm ready to jump in with Chris. Chris, thank you so much for being patient as I do the rundown this morning. I have to get all that information out, and I cut it short because I could keep going because there's a lot of stuff going on around Gwinnett. But thank you so much for being my guest. I know you were out last week. I hope you're feeling better. As always, my prayers are with you. So listen, we're talking about creating another stream of income because a lot of people want to invest, but the check is just by the time they get the check, by the next second the check is gone. So I know we're going to talk about what you can do to create multiple streams of income so you'll be able to invest.
Yeah, definitely. first, this is a disclaimer. A second job is not another income stream. It's another job. Yes, it'll provide you with some additional income, but you got to keep doing it. That's considered an active, maybe, income stream. But there are other sources of income you can create that are passive as well. So let me talk a little bit about the active one. That requires you put in additional time. In other words, if it is a part-time job, if you want to say that's your second source of income, that's fine. But there are things people could do, make baskets, do tutoring on the side. Individuals can cut grass, clean gutters, do hair. I mean, you just look around you, there's an incredible amount of opportunities out there to generate a second income stream. And notice all the ones I've mentioned do not require a large outlay of cash. But let me just take one step backwards a little bit, because someone might be asking, why do I need another income stream? I'm making a good income, $60,000, $75,000 a year. Well, here's why. A third of that income goes to taxes, somewhere in that neighborhood. Another third generally goes to pay debt. So that means you got to live off of one third of what you're making, which is why people struggle. According to statistics, Audrey, if the average American can just earn an additional $500 a month, $6,000 a year, they can keep their heads above water. So I would encourage anyone, even someone earning $100,000 a year, that's not what you're earning. That's not what you're bringing home. You need another income stream to stay ahead of inflation and just to be able to put some money away.
You know that, Chris, and that's so key. I think for a lot of people, when you say stuff like, and here's the thing, if you have a talent and you can just do this on the weekend, he said passive, like you don't have to make it into a big blown out business, but you have to have a goal for that. So let's say, for instance, you are a great baker, right? It's about to be spring. It is spring. I don't know where you live at, but I live in Gwinnett County, and I live in Georgia, and there are festivals all across Georgia. You could pick any weekend in the month, and you're going to find a festival somewhere. Go out there and sell your wares. Listen, I've seen people paint on rocks and sell rocks. Do you hear me? I've seen people actually paint on rocks and go out and sell their rock, because believe it or not, there is an audience out there for pretty much anything you could probably dream up. Really, there is. It's just a matter of being disciplined and saying, you know what, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to start this hobby because I know that this money is going to go for my investments. That's what I know. My husband and I was talking, Chris, over the weekend. My husband loves to cook. Like, he loves to cook. And he bought a hot dog cart about 2 years ago. But he works a lot. So it's like, okay, when are you going to have time to do the hot dog carts? So I said to him, listen, we could do pop-up hot dog carts, because the hot dogs he wants to make are not just your regular hot dogs. You know what I mean? So I said to him, let's look at the festivals. Let's look at the church functions. Churches have functions all the time, especially in the summer, spring and summer. Just show up. There's a huge industry, a huge thing going on right now, Chris, called pop-up stores, where people just go somewhere and pop up a store. Back in the day, there used to be trunk sales, and they can still do trunk sales. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. But Chris, don't they have to have this mindset to get this started? Because that's huge.
Yeah. I believe everything starts with a mindset. I think very first broadcast we talked about it. You know, it's one thing to say, hey, I want another income stream. It's another thing to implement it. And that requires a mindset. Why? Because you're going to give something up, whether that's watching television, hanging out, spending time with friends, maybe even spending time with family. So you've got to decide if that's what you really want to do, whether or not the end justifies the means in order to do it. But it starts with a mindset. That's why the vast majority of Americans never do that. They talk about they need another income stream. Well, let me back up. They may need another income stream, but willing to implement something to do it. I think we all like the passive income. In other words, I don't have to do anything. But generally, that in most cases, that requires a huge outlay of income. I'll give you an example. Real estate, better known as one of the more well-known passive income streams. You buy property, you rent it out, and that generates some additional income in addition to paying the mortgage. But that generally requires a huge outlay of income. So the person has to make up their mind this is what they want to do. They may say, I'm only going to do it for X amount of time, But if we just talk about it or wish we would do it, it's never going to happen. So you're right. As with anything, Audrey, I believe it starts with a mindset. Because if we don't get the mind right, we'll never do it.
Now, Chris, let me ask you this because I had a thought as you were talking.
Yes.
Let's say, for instance, there's a young couple out there right now, and they don't have a lot of discretionary income, but they manage to do some kind of side hustle and earn like $1,000. And let's say they're like 27, 28, 30, no, let's say 30 years old. They're 30 years old. They got $1,000. They want to put this $1,000 in an investment, and they never add anything else to that $1,000. What would that look like in 20 years if you could tell us that approximately?
If they get a higher rate of return on that, they could find themselves in 20 years looking in the neighborhood of about $100,000.
Wow.
It depends in what they invested in. So I'm talking about something that's going to give them 12, 15% rate of return, put $1,000 in, never touch it again. They're going to be in really good shape if they do that. And one of the things I do a lot is put together strategies on how we can get to where you need to be. It's interesting you mentioned that because one of the secondary sources of income or another income stream that we very really talk about, Audrey, is investments. That is a income stream. No one has taught us that our money will work harder for us than we will ever work for money. So in other words, while you and I are on this broadcast right now, individuals that have investments, not savings accounts, but in investments, that money is working for them and it can generate a source of income. If a lot of us had started earlier, and the reason I want to make that point because I don't want somebody to think they need a lot of money, but if individuals would get started and over a period of time, they could build enough the portfolio can be large enough or to have enough assets under management where that money can pay their rent, their house note, their car note, can substitute their income if they're wise enough or judicious enough in where they invest money. So that's an income stream we often overlook. And it's interesting. We get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month, whenever a person gets it, and we fail to realize that what we receive in pay is the very thing that can not only provide us with another source of income, which is passive, but it can provide us with income that will pay all of our expenses that we're working 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month, 1,920 hours a year to generate.
And, the other thing, too, is when I sit here and I think about that, especially for young people that are listening to the show, even if you say, you know what, I'm going to give up Starbucks, because I know there's a lot of youngsters, and I'm millennials, they love Starbucks, and they love to eat out, they love to dine out. But when you think about the amount of money you spend on one dining session, you said, you know what, I'm going to take that $50, that $50 a month, and I'm going to invest it into an account that I know is going to work for me. And so when you think about $50, it doesn't sound like a lot when you say it, but at the end of the year, that's $600. And so if you're just 25 years old right now, and you put $50 in an investment account that is aggressive, and that's $600. If you do that every year for the next 25 years, can you imagine what that would look like?
Hey, matter of fact, one of the things I love talking about, and you hit the number right on the head, is 50, because the vast majority of Americans can put away $50 a month because they have that in discretionary income. Someone is probably saying, I don't have an extra $50. If you have cable, you do. If you're eating out, you do. If you smoke cigarettes, you do. So, you buy impulse items in the supermarket, you do. So using the example, if a person was to put aside $50 a month at 9% for 10 years, they'd have over $9,700, of which only $6,000 came out of their pocket. $50 a month at 9% for 10 years, they'd have over $36,000. $50 a month for a generation, 40 years, they'd have over $235,000, of which they would have only invested $24,000. But when you hear me talk a lot about generational wealth, and that's something I know we'll talk about in a future broadcast. Back to mindset, if we can get people thinking in terms of I need to build generational wealth, it'll impact their income today and what they leave for the next generation. 80 years at $50 a month at 9%, that's $8.7 million. But here's the one, that's the tipping point. I'm 67 years old. My great-grandparents have worked 40 years. My grandparents had worked 40 years, and my parents worked 40 years. That's 120 years. $50 a month at 9% for 120 years is $316 million.
Wow.
That's
and see, I think I think when you break it down like that, Chris, it makes a lot of sense because I was thinking, okay, 80 years old, so I've saved, that makes me 130 years old. Okay, but when you break it down, when you break it down that way, when you break it down for me, my husband, and my mother or whoever, and if we all putting that $50 away in that. Now let me ask you this, 'cause now here's the thing.
Yes.
You just hit on something interesting. So let's say I started an investment club, and it's 4 or 5 of us, and we all putting in this $50 a month in this investment club, and that's still, you can do that, right? You can still have an investment club where it's a group that's investing versus the individual, and everybody's putting in their share like every month.
Yeah, I have a client out in California. She and her family all invest equal amounts of money into a fund. They've got to decide how they're going to manage. I don't say manage their money in the fund, but they got to decide how that's going to be run. But to answer your question, yeah, families can do that. The story I love telling, if anyone is familiar with it, is that Sam Walton, he and his family pooled their resources, and they purchased a Benjamin Franklin 5 and 10. The rest is history. That became Walmart, Super Walmart, Sam's Clubs, et cetera, and so forth. So I think we miss out on the opportunity, especially those of us who got large families. Remember, 20 family members all putting in $50 a month. That's $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. After 10 years, that's $120,000. At 9%, you're probably looking at somewhere between $150,000, maybe $175,000.
I know a long time ago I had thought about doing an investment club, and I think for me it was like just making sure people stayed on point with what they had to do, because even though they're your family, you love them, some of them can drop out and give you hardship stories and things like that, and I think that's a whole nother monster. So before you do that, people, it sounds great. I know it does, but you want to make sure you do your due diligence and make sure that if you're going to start an investment club with your family, that you guys sit down and really talk it out. Like, what does it look like? What happens if someone wants to drop out? Do they get their money back? All these are the questions that I asked myself when I got ready to start it, and I kind of backed out. But this was years ago, before I was more educated about the whole investment. I'm talking about years. Had I done this in my 20s, I would be in a great position right now when it comes to investments. But I was in my 20s when I was thinking about doing this, and but it was just way too much for me. I was not educated about investing like that. I read some things in the Black Enterprise magazine. I was like, hey, I'm going to do that. And when I started to look into it and look what family members, I could get involved, the only person I could get involved was my mom now and my brother. What I should have done is started with the three of them, and we would be somewhere sitting pretty nice right now, but we didn't. But moving forward, like you, Chris, Chris got a lot of grandkids, y'all. I only got one. How many you got, Chris?
18. Just had the 18th one on March the 8th.
Chris got 18 grandkids. That was close to your birthday. That almost made your birthday.
Yeah, we were trying to work it out like that. She wouldn't cooperate.
But listen, when you think about investing, y'all, listen, if you got kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews, this is the perfect time for you to start for them. Even if you're older like myself, it's still a good time for you to start building something for those kids. I know for me, I got one grandbaby right now. She's a 2-month-old, and my biggest goal right now is to be able to leave a legacy for her to carry on, for she and my daughter to carry on, and my niece and my nephews. And so I'm talking to them about investing. I had to tell my daughter about getting life insurance and protecting herself if something happens to she and her boyfriend, and making sure the baby's taken care of. These are conversations we're having. Like, she's been having these conversations with me ever since she was a little girl, but now that she's a grown woman and a mother, it has become more important to her that we have these conversations. So we talk about this at least weekly, about creating streams of income. She was over here yesterday. We talked about getting healthy, just things like that. And all these things are really important for you to move forward. So, Chris, for someone right now who is, let's say, 50, and they're saying, man, that sounds good what Chris is saying, but I'm 50 years old. I don't know if that's going to help me. What would you say to that person?
Look, I believe the best time to start investing was 20, 30, 40 years ago. The second best time to start is today. Yes, it will help you. Number one, it's a great discipline. I think a lot of times, Audrey, we get so immersed in the economic end of it. We fail to see the other benefits of it. We get started and discipline ourselves, and it spills into other areas of our life. That's one. So you develop a new habit, and then and you'll see it trickle down to other things that you do in your life. That's one thing. The second thing is, if you get started at the end of the year, you'll have more money than you did in the beginning of the year, if you just get started. Number three, it's a trait that you can pass on to your children, the same thing. And so, yeah, if you're at 50 years old, yeah, maybe your objective to save $1 million now is not possible because you're too old. But you can put away enough money where we're back to generational wealth, where you could benefit from what you have saved, but you can pass that on to the next generation, and they can build off of that. See, we got to start somewhere. You know, if you want shade, a shade tree for the next generation, you got to plant it today. You can't say, well, I'm 50 years old, it's too late for me to plant it. We got to think in terms of the next generation so that they can have the opportunity to build houses or purchase houses without going into a lot of debt or have money for education. So the person that's 50, they can still put some money away. And I think they'd be surprised over a 10-year period of time if they're willing to make some sacrifices. And I mentioned some of them. Cable, you don't need a full package. You can get a limited package. Matter of fact, I really just help my clients to cancel cable. Get a Fire Stick. Eat out a little less. You don't have to buy the latest iPhone, the latest pair of sneakers or anything. But people would be surprised. Why? Because the average American is going to earn somewhere between $1.4 million and $2 million in their 40-year career. So we have the money. So for that 50-year-old, you have the money. You've got to decide what's most important. What is your priority? Do you want to spend it all, or do you want to start building a legacy and have some income? We talk about passive income, and have some money aside that you don't have to struggle when you decide you want to purchase a big ticket item or take a vacation.
All right, Chris, we are out of time. Give people your information on how to contact you. We'll be back again next Wednesday, y'all. We're gonna dive deep into generational wealth, and hopefully next week we got enough time so we can dig deep. I know we always run out of time. How can they contact you, Chris?
Hey, they can reach me at Real Issues, REALISSUES @AOL.com, or they can just pick up the telephone and call me at 404-839-8274. The number again is 404-839-8274. Consultation is free, so it doesn't cost you anything to ask me questions at all. Hey, Audrey, as always, thank you so much. I hope your listeners got something out of this that's going to help them as they build economic empowerment.
Thank you, Chris, for being my guest. We'll be back again next week, y'all, with Chris. Listen, I got my quote of the day. There is good in every single day. That's my ending quote for the day. That's my new thing. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to share this episode. If you missed an episode, go over to goodmorninggwinnett.com to pick up episodes that you missed. I'll be back again tomorrow, God willing. Until next time, make it a great day.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in daily at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you miss an episode, go to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com to catch up. If you like this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the show now and share it with your friends.